Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to my Monday Night Raw review. And Raw tonight was held from the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans, and this was the go-home show for Hell in a Cell, which is this Sunday. And my God, tonight's show sucked ass. This wasn't a go-home. This wasn't a good go-home show. This was a garbage show. This was a shitty fucking show tonight. Raw. And this is supposed to get you hyped for Sunday, for Hell in a Cell. Yeah, they're doing a good job, aren't they? Yeah, for the Raw side. SmackDown side, they're doing a decent job, hyping up the matches for Hell in a Cell. But the show opened up tonight with Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, and Braun Strowman coming out. They came out, and then the heels of the Raw roster came out. They were surrounding the ring. Dolph gets on the mic and says, "Oh, we told you so," telling us that, what they did, what they were going to do to, the Shield. And Strowman says the only reason, Strowman said, they beat down the Shield last week and that they fed on their bloody carcasses. And so they showed the footage from last week with what happened. So we got that. And Strowman says, the only reason that Roman has the Universal Championship around his waist is because he is a coward and he can't handle business on his own. And he ends up saying, "Oh, Braun has, his dogs of war," meaning he has, Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler. And I gotta tell this, in my opinion, Dolph Ziggler looks so out of place standing beside Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman, in my opinion. I know some of you might agree with me on that, but that's just how the way I see it. Dolph Ziggler looks so out of place with standing beside Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman. And so that's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to be called. They're going to be called the Dogs of War. Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, and Braun Strowman. And then Dolph says, to all the men who were standing around the ring, saying, they all stood up to the Shield and that they stood up for themselves. And, of course, Drew Gulak was still there. And, heard rumor, saw on a Raw review. I watch, other people's, reviews of Raw, SmackDown. And I saw someone say that one of the main reasons, I think, Drake Maverick, who is with AOP now, who's the manager of AOP now, and Drew Gulak, appeared, is that maybe, from what I heard, a rumor from that person saying that, maybe WWE is going to scrap 205 Live because, they go live after SmackDown, and, people after SmackDown, they leave the arena. They don't stay for 205 Live. That's why, if you watched 205 Live last week, there was many empty seats that were on the camera side. That if you watched 205 Live and spotted that, I don't know. I heard that's what I saw from a person who commented on I think it was a Raw review. So, but I don't know if that's true or not, because we had another superstar from 205 Live, make a little appearance in later on the show. So I don't know if that's true or not. That's a rumor, but you know, if WWE is going to do that, then you know, we're going to have Drake Maverick, Drew Gulak, and this other person on Raw now. And many of the other superstars that are on 205 Live, if they're definitely, you know, going to scrap 205 Live, you know, many of those superstars who are on the show, who are on the 205 Live roster, are going to be released. So, but Drew McIntyre says, you know, they are in control and running wild, and that tonight, you know, they are dismantling the B team in their rematch. So, you know, we got a rematch for the Raw Tag Team Championships, where it was Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler versus the B team, Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas. And so the Shield end up coming out. Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, and Roman Reigns. They come out, and you know, a brawl takes place out there while Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, and Braun Strowman retreated. And we saw Ambrose take out, you know, weapons. Well, it was only one. It was only like one weapon, but all three of them had the same thing. It was like a little like wood. It was like wood piece, or that's what it looked like to me though. But they had them and they started taking out, you know, all the men, you know, the heels out there. And that's how the opening segment ended. But I thought it was a pretty decent opening to Raw. Thought it was decent. Then when Raw came back from the commercial, we saw you know, all three members of the Shield. They were arguing with cops, and I was thinking, oh, tell me they're not going to do the same thing like last week, where you know, all three of them got arrested. And thankfully they didn't do that. So Corbin ends up coming, you know, acting GM Baron Corbin comes and says, you know, for the Shield to drop, you know, the weapons. And he tells them he wants them here to compete on Raw. And he ends up vacating the Shield from building. And you know, if they're not, you know, if they don't leave, they will lose their titles and be in jail for a long while. So that's what happened backstage. Then we had the first match. It was Nikki Bella versus Ruby Riott. This was okay. This was an okay match. Ruby Riott, very entertaining. I really like Ruby Riott. Nikki Bella, you know, like she was decent in the match, though. But there was some interference later on with Sarah Logan getting involved, and also Liv Morgan. Of course, Brie Bella was out there, and Nikki Bella ended up winning the match. She ended up hitting the Rack Attack 2.0 on Ruby Riott to score the win. So, but it was an okay match. Then we had, you know, the Connors Cure. Big Show was out there. It was very nice. And you know, we had that. Then we had AOP versus these jobbers, locals by the name of Ronnie Ace and Nathan Bradley. And this was just a squash match. This was a shitty match. Given AOP jobbers to fight. AOP ended up winning, so that was that. It was a squash match, like I said. Shitty match. Then we had Triple H ended up coming out, which was really awesome. Got a pop from the crowd chanting his name. He comes out and says, the night after SummerSlam, he stood in the ring and said, The Undertaker and him will face at the Super Showdown in Australia, which is happening next month, which happened on October 6th. And, he says that Triple H says, it was shocking when Shawn Michaels came out to give, his opinion last week. And it shocked him when, Taker was bothered, when Undertaker was bothered by HBK, by Shawn Michaels' opinion. And, Triple H said, he watched, other, the other guys, the other legends give, their predictions. And it showed that they had a poll. And the poll was who would win at the Super Showdown? Would it be Triple H or would it be Undertaker? And it showed that 81% of the votes voted for Undertaker. And Triple H says that when Undertaker was bothered by Shawn Michaels' opinion. And, he was also bothered by, Undertaker threatening Shawn Michaels over his opinion on who would win. And he goes on to say that, Undertaker has lost respect for himself and that he didn't tell him that to his face. That, and he says that in Australia, he's going to put The Undertaker down. And it looks like, Triple H is ready for Undertaker at Super Showdown. You could tell right at the end of the segment, Triple H is ready. He's ready to face Undertaker again. And this was a very decent segment from Triple H. Really liked it. Knows how to cut a good promo. So it was a decent segment and promo from Triple H. Then we had Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre versus Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas. The rematch for the Raw Tag Team Championships. We saw this last week. Nothing great, nothing perfect. I mean, it was an okay rematch though, but it was the same thing that we saw last week. In the end, Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre win the match. They retain the Raw Tag Team Championships. They end up pinning the Claymore Zigzag combo on Bo Dallas. Then you had after the match, Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose come out to take out Dolph and Drew. So that happened after the match. So then we had after that we had Baron Corbin was backstage with Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. Corbin says, he is going to have Seth and Dean arrested again. And Seth says to Corbin that he has a police officer and that he has issued a warrant for Baron Corbin's arrest. And so, police officer, the sheriff said, the rights to Corbin. And Corbin was like, he wants to talk to Seth, first. And so we had the cop out there with Dean Ambrose. It was very funny thing that Dean Ambrose was saying to the cop. And so Seth Rollins walks out and says, he doesn't think they will need to press charges right now on Baron Corbin. And so that was a backstage segment with them. Then we had Kevin Owens come out this was going to be a match between Kevin Owens and Tyler Breeze, but this match never got underway because when Tyler Breeze was still making his entrance, Kevin Owens went after Tyler Breeze, started beating the hell out of him. Tyler Breeze ended up coming back and started throwing punches at Owens, but Owens got the upper hand, and he ended up laying a powerbomb on the apron to Tyler Breeze, just like he did to Bobby Lashley last week. And so he gets on the mic. Kevin Owens gets on the mic and says, that Baron Corbin called him and begged him to reconsider, coming back, and to reconsider Kevin Owens coming back. And he goes on to say that Corbin recognized his value of him being, the real MVP of Monday Night Raw. And so Owens says, he came back, and from now on, he could do whatever he wants. So basically, Kevin Owens came back just to do whatever he wants. He said under one condition, where he could do anything he wants. And he says, he is sick of the Shield, and, he could do whatever he wants. And, that there is not anyone who could do anything about it. And he blames all this on Bobby Lashley. And he's like, oh, Bobby Lashley injured Sami Zayn, and now, he's still home with an injury. He says he quit. Owen says he quit because of Lashley, and he is the reason why, and Lashley is the reason why Owens is back. And what he did to Bobby Lashley last week was just the beginning. Sorry about that, but I say that it was, it was a decent little promo that Kevin Owens cut. So, but yeah, that match never got underway. The bell didn't even ring. Then we had Bobby Roode and Chad Gable versus the Ascension once again. Just like last week, this was Xerox repeat. It was boring. It was a shitty match. Bobby Roode and Chad Gable end up getting the win. Chad Gable ended up doing that bridge roll up on, I think it was Victor of the Ascension. So Bobby Roode and Chad Gable win the match. Same shit that we saw last week. It was a boring match. Then we had Dolph Ziggler was in the locker room saying to Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman about, why are the Shield, back in the arena. Corbin ends up coming in and saying to Dolph and Drew that they will defend their Raw Tag Team Championships against Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose at Hell in a Cell. So, which is this Sunday. And Corbin says to Strowman that Stephanie wants him to take the Universal Championship at Hell in a Cell. So, pretty much that was that with the locker room. Then we had Natalya and Ronda Rousey versus Alexa Bliss and Mickie James. This was an okay match. Not a great match by any means, though. But Ronda Rousey, of course, was impressive in this match. Although she was taking kicks to the ribs, she still ended up putting up a good fight in this match. And Natalya and Ronda got the win. And Ronda Rousey ended up getting the armbar on Mickie James to score the win. And after the match, Alexa Bliss ends up sidekicking Ronda in the ribs. It was a cheap shot to Ronda. So, their match is happening this Sunday at Hell in a Cell. Alexa and Ronda for the Raw Tag Team, for the Raw Women's Championship. So yes, that's happening. But all in all, the match itself, it was an okay match, not a great match. Then we had Elias was shown backstage. A crew member ended up coming over, giving him something, to drink that was in a cup. He ends up drinking it. Elias ends up drinking it, spits it out, and tells him, go get me, is this good? This ain't good for my vocals, for my vocal cords. for what he said though. And then we just hear Braun Strowman, shown looking for Roman. He ends up asking everybody there, where's Roman? And then he ends up picking up a guy, and the guy looked really freaked out. Looking at Braun Strowman, and Braun Strowman ended up tossing him. So Strowman was on a mission backstage to look for Roman. And then we had Ronda and Natalya were there. They were being interviewed, mostly Ronda, about heading into a match on Sunday. And she asked how she was feeling, how her ribs were feeling, and Ronda says she's fine, and she's still going to be at Hell in a Cell, and that she is still the best. And when she cut this interview, this showed shades of what Ronda would possibly be if she was a heel. If WWE ever turns Ronda heel, I would like to see this Ronda when she did this interview tonight. This would be a perfect, this was a preview of what it would be if Ronda was a heel, or would be a heel in the future. So yes, that was the interview with Ronda. It was good. It was a decent interview. It was a short one, but I would like to see this would be Ronda if she was a heel. Just by that interview. A little preview. Then we had Elias was out there, saying, the Shield tried ruining his performance, earlier, and he ends up trashing, the Saints, and he ends up saying, his song can save everyone, blah blah blah, the same shit that he does every single week. I'm sorry, every single week Elias is becoming more and more repetitive. Just by going out there, always getting interrupted. It's getting repetitive. And so Mick Foley ends up coming out, interrupting him. It's cool seeing Mick Foley here tonight since he hasn't been seen in 18 months. And of course he was the former general manager of Raw. He was there because of the the whole 20th anniversary of one of the greatest Hell in a Cell matches ever done, which was at King of the Ring 98, where Mick Foley, who was Mankind versus The Undertaker, that whole classic match, one of my top favorite Hell in a Cell match. So he was there. Foley says, he is a fan of Elias, and that, he is good. He ends up saying to Elias that he's good. Elias ends up saying, to Foley that as a child, he sat in the stands at, the King of the Ring 98, which was held at the Igloo. And he says, he watched as his he watched as Mick Foley's body was, thrown off the cell. And he says to Foley, he says to him that, his life was never the same again. And he says to Foley that he is a broken man who is singing the same sad song. And Mick Foley says, he didn't come out to talk about the past, but to talk about the future. And he says he made Stephanie a proposition, and he told Stephanie that he wants to play a role at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. And he says that at Hell in a Cell, he's going to be the special guest referee for the Roman Reigns Braun Strowman match. So that was pretty cool that he's going to be the special guest referee of that match. And Elias says to Mick Foley, that was special, but Foley needs to take advice from him. And he tells Mick Foley to go to the back and shut his mouth. And so Mick Foley says, he hasn't been here in 18 months, and Stephanie told Mick Foley to make a match, here for tonight. And he says that Elias will be taking on Finn Balor. So, and that's when the segment ended. Sorry about that, but I was saying, that was when the segment ended. But it was a enjoyable segment from Mick Foley. Still knows how to cut a good promo. Very enjoyable. So, but all in all, it was an enjoyable segment with Mick Foley. It would have been better, without Elias. We just get Mick Foley there, just by himself in the ring, kind of good promo. So that's just my opinion. And then we see Braun Strowman was shown backstage, still going crazy, looking for Roman. So then we had Finn Balor versus Elias, which was a meh match, in my opinion. Finn Balor ended up getting the win because Elias was going to hit the drift away on Balor, but Balor ended up countering it into a roll-up, and so Finn Balor ends up winning. So, but match itself, it was meh, in my opinion. Then we had Bobby Lashley was seen, working out, and this is where another 205 Live superstar comes into the picture. Lio Rush is there, and he says to Lashley that he's here to motivate him, and so Lashley ends up going, just like last week, my man. This whole my man, thing. If Lashley keeps doing this my man thing, this my man saying, somebody has to make a meme of it or make a video about it. It'd be like a drinking game, like take a drink every time Lashley goes, my man. I know that's what I know someone out there has to probably make a meme or make a video about that, make it a drinking game. So, but Leo, I like Lio Rush. He's enjoyable in the ring, very fast in the ring when he's on 205 Live, when he has a match. Really enjoyable in the ring, Lio Rush. This guy has a lot of talent. If you haven't watched any of his matches on 205 Live, definitely go check it out. Very talented superstar. And so that was the little segment with Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush. And so we had the main event, which was Braun Strowman ends up coming out and says he's sick of waiting, and he tells Roman to come out and face him like a man. And so, Roman doesn't end up coming out. His music doesn't hit. And Strowman says, Roman is nothing but a coward, and that there was nowhere to hide in a cell, because, Roman's going to be locked in the cage with a monster, and, his brothers, can't get in. And he says, if Mick Foley gets in his way, the stuff that Mick Foley went through, 20 years ago in the Hell in a Cell, Braun Strowman says that will just be a paper cut compared to what he will possibly do to Foley, if Foley does anything, really skeptical in the match. And Strowman says at Hell in a Cell he's taking the Universal Championship, and he's going to make Roman go away. And so Roman's music hits. Strowman goes up the stage because it's shown that that Roman was standing on the announce table. And so when Strowman gets up to the top of the stage, Roman just comes at him with a Superman punch. And we see they both go at it on the stage. Strowman tries to ram Roman through the screen on the stage. And so Strowman starts destroying the announce table. Takes everything off. And Strowman ends up throwing a right punch to Roman. Roman ends up picking up Strowman on the announce table. And so then Roman ends up hitting a Samoan drop to the stage floor. And part of the stage floor breaks. And so Roman is the one standing, holds up the Universal Championship. Braun Strowman was still down. And so that's how Raw ended tonight with that. But I have to say that the Samoan drop looked pretty decent when Roman hit Strowman through the stage floor. So yeah, but all in all, like I said, this wasn't that good of a go home show for Hell in a Cell this Sunday. Nothing to get you excited about on the Raw side. SmackDown side, there's a lot, there's a lot that you're looking forward to, like, Becky Lynch versus Charlotte, Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles for the WWE Championship, and also, like I said, Becky versus Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's Championship, and of course, Daniel Bryan, Brie Bella versus The Miz and Maurice. So a lot of stuff looking forward to on the SmackDown side than the Raw side. So yes, anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw. Thank you all for watching, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned tomorrow night for my SmackDown review. So I'll see you all tomorrow night for that review. Bye.